Well, hello and good afternoon to you wherever you are in the world. My name is Mayawa Ogundile and you're welcome to this hangout where we will be discussing the fight against Boko Haram in Nigeria as well as the joint effort against Boko Haram by Nigeria and her neighbors, Chad, Cameroon, and some other countries who have joined the fight to say no to Boko Haram and to find every means to kick out the terrorist group. To discuss this on the hangout with me, I have Mr. Adiola Alade, calling from Russia. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
And I also have Charles. Charles is Angelo Seda. I don't know if I got that correct.
That's correct. That's correct.
Great. He's calling from Chicago in the US of A. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining the hangout. Charles, I'll start with you. I'd like to know how well your fellow Muslims back home. I'd like to know how well your fellow Muslims back home in Boko Haram and the fight against Boko Haram, and share your thoughts.
Well, let me begin by saying thank you very much. As a matter of fact, this is a very big opportunity to come over here and discuss such very, very important and very, very vital and sensitive situation. So I really want to say a very big thank you to the anchor, television, Channels Television, and of course the internet medium. So
sorry, Charles. Before you go ahead, can you please lean back a bit so that we can see your face?
Okay.
Exactly, so that your face can come out well enough.
Right.
So please, you go ahead.
All right. So well, I would say that some days back I was actually following a program and I was reading a newspaper, I think Punch to be precise, where the Nigerian government was actually countering, I think, the notion from their Niger president saying that most of the work were actually done by the Niger and Cameroonian and the Chad joint task force. So I think I am a little, I would say, I'm not going to say very much, but I'll just say a little. I follow this whole process a little, and I'd like to say, well, I commend the effort of our neighbors, talking about the Niger, the Cameroonians, and the Chad. I commend their effort, and I just hope that this collaboration will, to a great effect, help to put out the insurgents. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm still with you, and I'd like to get your thoughts very quickly on what your take is on the fight against Boko Haram right now. Do you think we're improving? At some point, it seemed as though the terrorists had upper hand each time, and we heard reports of men fleeing from battlefront. We heard lots of lots of reports of barracks being taken over. It seemed as though Boko Haram had the upper hand, but nowadays, we've heard lots of victory stories and reports, and you've heard so many things being recovered from the terrorists. You have cases of most of the terrorists being put down, or a lot of them. So what is your take on all of this?
Well, to be very, very candid, well, I'm sorry I have to say this on the air, but to be very, very candid, I think, yeah, I think the whole process is political. That's the only thing I can say about that. I'm just gonna stop by just saying that the whole process would have been a lot easier if the government of Nigeria is actually doing exactly what they are supposed to do, and not the neighbors actually doing exactly what we are supposed to do. So I would say that the whole process, like I said, the whole process would have gone a lot easier, and by now maybe there would not even be any kind of problem with these people again if the Nigerian government are actually doing the right thing. So I just think this whole process is political. In other words, these people, the Boko Haram people, would not be in existence again when the Nigerian government says they are not in existence again.
All right. So very quickly again, before I move over to Mr. Alade, the other time you commended the efforts to join task force against Boko Haram, but
Yeah.
a lot of people who also perhaps love the idea that people are now coming together to fight Boko Haram, but a lot of critics of the government have said it is unheard of that Chadian army would be fighting in Nigeria. Nigeria Pride of Africa, Giant of Africa, highly celebrated. Our soldiers are celebrated world over, and then you hear stories of guys from Chad coming into Nigeria to fight terrorists who, originated in Nigeria. So a lot of people feel like, oh, this is a minus in such a way, and it's an indictment of some sort that our army isn't as good as it used to be. What is your take on this?
Like I said, I believe this whole process, the fight against the Boko Haram thing, is just political. I believe that the Nigerian government can do much more than what they are doing right now. It's just a camouflage. They are not ready to do anything. That's just exactly why a small force from Chad, a small force from Cameroon, or the neighboring Niger can combat and win the war that the whole Nigerian force cannot win. So I just believe that this whole thing is a camouflage. Like I said, I believe it's not only a camouflage, it is political. These people, I mean, the Nigerian force is not ready to do it. Not just that they are not ready to do anything, but I believe that someone in the helm of affair right there knows exactly where these people are. He's just not doing the right thing. Going by the January 9 Punch newspaper, where the president, Nigerian president, actually said that these Boko Haram people had infiltrated my own government. So in other words, he knows exactly there are people in the Hembo Affair that understand, they know exactly where these insurgents are coming from. So the whole thing is just a propaganda. The whole thing is just a political propaganda. That's all I believe.
All right, thank you very much, Charles. I'll get back to you, but very
Thank
quickly,
you.
let me head over to Mr. Alade. Mr. Alade, thank you again for joining the Hangout.
Thank you very much, and I'm so glad to be here again.
Awesome. So I'm sure you've heard a couple of things that Charles said. I'd like to get your first reaction to, perhaps all he said, or if there's anything you're not comfortable with.
Yes, you see, the first thing I would like to say is about the multinational joint task force. I believe it's a disgrace to our country that we're having other countries coming to our country to fight Boko Haram. It's just like we're inviting other countries to clean up our own mistakes to help us solve our own problems. To me, I believe it shouldn't be so. This is a problem that has been there for years, and we have failed, and we are still failing to solve it. For me, inviting other countries is what shouldn't be. This is a problem that we know. All we should be doing is strategizing how we will defeat them. That's all I want to say for now about that. That's my take.
Okay, so you have recorded your initial pleasure for the fact that you're not so hyped about the fact that our neighbors are coming to clean our own mess, like you put it. But wouldn't you say it is a step in the right direction?
Okay. You mean what would you do? Hello?
I'm saying that although you have said, it isn't, it is quite disappointing that our neighbors are helping us to clean our own mess.
Okay.
Wouldn't you agree that, despite that, it is a step in the right direction? We're eventually going to get the result that we want, which is to take out Boko Haram and, make them history. Wouldn't you say that it is a plus for the government?
Yes, to the government is not a plus, but to we Nigerians, it's a plus for us, because at least if our government is failing to protect us, then at least we could say we are grateful to other governments that they are coming to help us. On that note, of course, we have to be glad. Those who live on the borders of Nigeria and Cameroon, they will be glad with that. That Cameroonian soldiers, Chadian soldiers, and probably Niger soldiers are helping them out. Of course, it's a good news for them. But on our part as a country, no, it's a very, very bad and devastating something to bear. Thank you.
All right. I'll come back to you, Charles. Now you have said this is propaganda, and several times, we've heard different stories, we've heard different explanations from the federal government. There are times when, like you said, they said, "Oh, Boko Haram had infiltrated top hierarchy in the government." So many stories. But a lot of times as well, government has blamed the opposition for, in a way, sponsoring and, helping this terrorist group. What is your take on that?
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, can you hear me very well? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, like I said before, I believe it's a propaganda not only because of what is being written in the newspaper, but especially because of what it has turned to, the lot of people that have died from it and the kind of people that are gaining from it. I mean, if we look into the fact that a political party can easily say, okay, this is all the fault of the president that is not curing it. And the other side can easily say, okay, this is because it is happening in the north and because um, the northern people want to come over to rule again. So I just believe this whole thing is all propaganda. This whole thing is not only propaganda, but this whole thing is um how do I put it? This whole thing is only because a particular government, I mean a particular set of people are just seeing this to how am I gonna put it now? I'm sorry, I'm just looking for the right word to use. It's because a particular government is actually looking for a hole, you know, to get to just put it straight. That's the only way I can put it. I believe not only because it's a propaganda, but of course it is a medium whereby I don't want to name them. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I just don't want to say that this is because the president of the country is using it in a way to, I don't know. Can you ask the question again? Maybe I am getting it all wrong.
So I asked that a lot of times government has blamed, or people, a couple of people in government and a couple of people close to the presidency have blamed the opposition. A lot of politicians have blamed the opposition for sponsoring Boko Haram. But you say it's a propaganda.
Yeah,
And
that's
like you pointed out, President had at some time admitted that the group had infiltrated his government. So I'm saying, what is your take on that version of the story, that narrative, that the opposition is responsible?
okay. As a matter of fact, like I said earlier, that is a propaganda. Oh well, if I want to define that word, and I wouldn't be very precise in this anyway, because way on air I would not be very precise, but I can just say that it is because of the fact that a particular party or some set of people who are in the helm of affair understand the fact that the only way they can sell the only way they can sell themselves is by claiming that the government is not helping anymore. But if you look into what this whole thing has turned into, talking about the fact that this whole thing is actually happening in the northern side. And the fact that, because I was watching a video not too long ago by these insurgents, and they were saying that if you people will come over, I mean, there is not going to be the election in the northern side. And this, of course, has been the only reason why this is the only reason, well, this is the major reason, anyway, why the election is being shifted. So, in other words, you would agree with me, or everyone would agree with me, that this whole thing is not only a propaganda to ensure that a particular government stays in place, but of course a propaganda to ensure that there is no free and fair election. So that's exactly why I said it's not only I don't want to say that this whole thing is coming from one party or another party, but I just believe that this whole thing is a propaganda to ensure that there is no continuity.
Well, these are allegations I'm sure you most likely cannot substantiate, or can you?
Well,
This is just your opinion, right? It's not
well,
like
this
you
is
have anything to back it up.
Well, of course. See, when we are talking, when you were talking about backing something up, anyway, if you really, really want me to give different opinion to back it up, I would be glad to share with you. But of course, in the private thing, I would not want to share it on here like that.
Okay, so let's just say that this is your opinion. But then again, let's move over to one other aspect, which I want to start off with Mr. Alade. Then I'll get back to you, Charles.
Thank you.
And it's on the promise of some sort, the hope that major Boko Haram camps will be taken out. the reason why the elections were postponed were because
Excuse me?
security. Can you hear me?
Okay, you can start all over again, please.
Okay, great. So I was saying that we have 6 weeks or less than 6 weeks now to elections. And in those 6 weeks, it is expected that major Boko Haram will be led by the Nigerian army so that we can have a free and fair and safe election process. That was why the election was postponed, because of security. So I want to get your take on that. In fact, Nigeria has been battling Boko Haram for a couple of years now. And then if in 6 weeks the government says something major can happen, what do you think of this?
Oh, firstly, that is laughable for the government to say what they have not been able to do in 5 years, they would do in 6 weeks. Laughable. A couple of days ago, Mr. Donyo Okupe was speaking on TV and he said the government is not trying to say they will eradicate Boko Haram, but they will debase Boko Haram, as in kind of decentralize them to make sure that area is safe for election. I don't believe in that. Are they just thinking about this? When the INEC announced election, since 2014, the date of the election has been announced, and it was only a week to the election that they just reasoned or they just realized that it is not safe. Then we have to think what the security chiefs are doing. We have to think about what the security chiefs are doing. For me personally, I don't. In fact, this is like a war, a battle. Let me say a battle. There is no factual date for the end of it. So for the government to say 6 weeks, of course, all Boko Haram can just go hiding for that 6 weeks and let it pass. And of course, during the election, they come out and strike. Boko Haram battle is not something that is centralized, and they are not really centralized in a particular place. We keep talking about Sambisa Forest, and of course, they left Sambisa and they attacked Gombe somehow. It simply means they are not only located in Borno State, they are located also in Adamawa, in Yobe, and of course now Borno, and of course now Gombe State. It simply means what the government is trying to do will not work within that 6 weeks, since what they are fighting is not located in a particular place. So for me, since what I believe the government should have done is just conducting the election and maximizing security, increasing concentration of security in that area, or what our INEC said, that those that have been displaced by Boko Haram in a camp, those camps are safe enough for elections. And what I believe in that case is that elections for that 14 local government should have taken place in those locations. So, which means there is no need for delaying or postponing the election. But I just feel all this postponement of the election is just a way for the government to perfect their rigging tactics. Because I don't believe the election will be free and fair after that postponement. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll get back to you on some of the things you've said now, but let me quickly head over to our new caller, Sonny Curie. Hi, Sonny. Hello. Sonny, can you hear me? Okay, so hello, Sonny, can you hear me? Hi, Sonny, can you hear me? All right, so I'll get back to Sonny. Continue hearing at the moment. Charles, I'm coming over to you now, and I'd like to get on the question I asked earlier,
All right.
which is defeating Boko Haram, to a large extent within 6 weeks in time for the elections. What is your take on this?
Well, like I said before, I am still maintaining the fact that this whole thing is propaganda. I mean, like I can see, the truth is, I said earlier that if the government of Nigeria want this whole war against terrorism to stop a day, they will stop it. They know exactly where to do. They know exactly where to hunt this guy. They know exactly what to do. That's exactly what I'm saying. See, not too long ago, I was reading a newspaper which was actually talking about how election could be conducted in Afghanistan, even in our neighbor Ukraine here, and even in Iraq, irrespective of the ISIS situation, irrespective of the war-prone zone. So you're telling me that because of the insurgents in Nigeria, that there's not going to be an election. So how are we sure? Yeah, thank God you asked that question. For a very long time, we have been, I mean, the Nigerian government have been trying to push these people back, and as much as they have done that, these people kept coming back. So for them to keep just come up one day and say in just 6 weeks everything is just going to stop, it's just not feasible. Not just not feasible, it's not just laughable, it's just a ground for us to believe that this whole thing had always been in existence because they allowed it. So let them just come up and tell us, okay, this election is not going to be, let this president continue. I mean, we all understood the fact that the only thing we want in Nigeria is for our people to be safe. I mean, I'm talking about the diasporans now. The only thing we want is for our people to be safe back home, for us to go back to a safe Nigeria. So, if if the government want election to be done, okay, do the election and let us believe that okay, the whole place is in safe hand. If it's not the election we want, okay, then let our government continue and let the whole people be in a safe hand. That's the only thing I can say.
Thank you very much, Charles. Sonny, can you hear me now? Hello, Sonny, can you hear me now? Okay, so I spoke to Sonny in the chat box and he says he can hear me, but can't seem to hear him. And then he says maybe my mic is being attacked. Very funny, Sonny. But please do let me know as soon as you fix your audio, because we would like to hear you speak on some of these issues that we've been talking about. Back to you now, Mr. Alade. Where do you see us going, between now and the elections?
Since the election has been postponed, we Nigerians are just watching day by day, because with antics of we are just waiting for the new antics, as in the new show that they will come up with. But for me, I would rather advise that we keep our cool and wait and let them show what they are up to. Even I still believe somehow something in me keeps telling me that the election will hold, but it won't be free and fair. What we should be talking about now is how to live with that. We should be planning for how to protect ourselves from them rigging the election. We should be calling on INEC to be fair, and we should be calling on the security agencies to make open their approaches to the election. And I am also calling on this civil society to intensify efforts in making sure that this election is not rigged. Thank you.
Charles, what are your fears on Mr. Alade I talked about?
I really can't hear. I don't
okay.
know.
I said,
Okay.
did you hear what Mr. Alade just said?
Yeah, I heard him very, very well.
So what is your take on that? That the elections will hold, but they won't be free and fair. I mean, I don't know if he's talking about security concerns, perhaps maybe some issues will come up security-wise, and then it's going to mess up the entire process. But what is your take on that?
And basically, I'll just like to submit that this is not something new again, not only in Nigeria, but the whole of Africa. See, I kept saying to people that, I mean, my neighbors and friends that we are here, I kept telling them that, see, the only thing I can say in the whole process of African election is that we are still very young to practicing democracy in Africa. It's just the truth. So the only thing, see, the elders will say, For a child cannot wake up one day and start running, A child who never crawls before and suddenly aspire to start running would only succeed in breaking his mother's heart. There is no way a child who has never walked before can start running. So the whole process of election in Africa is a gradual process, okay? So I can tell you very well, Mr. Lade, there is no way the election in Nigeria, I mean, this very forthcoming election will be free and fair. It is not going to be. We are not even we are not even advocating for that. It's the truth, irrespective of what we say. The simple thing is we are going to take it the way it comes. That's the thing. So we are not see the fact that we are seated and we are thinking that it's gonna be free, it's gonna be fair. That's not true. The only thing we are hoping for is that someone who is gonna be giving who is gonna be doing the heart of the people will come into the room. That's the only thing. So I would just submit here and I would say that the election will hold. I believe that it's gonna hold. And we would all accept the result when it comes. Especially, see, most of the activities, most of the wrongful acts that occur does not always occur on the day of the election, because mostly we are always going to be at home, going to the polling booths and returning back home. Nothing is going to happen on the election day. Activities can only begin, anything can only begin to occur after the election, after the result have been announced. So we will just accept it and nothing is going to happen. So we just, the only thing I can say that we should be saying right now is to talk to our people and say, whatever the result is, be calm and go about doing your activities. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Let's head over to Sonny again. Sonny, I hope the audio is better now. I can hear you.
You can still hear me now?
Okay, great. I can hear you now. So I know that you have a lot of things to share with us about this issue, because this is something we've talked about a lot of times on the Hangout, and you have been like a regular customer, if I may use that phrase. So what is your take? I'll start with the 6-week question. 6 weeks, less than 6 weeks now, to clear off a major arm of Boko Haram. 6 weeks to clear out major Boko Haram camps so that Nigeria can have a safe election process. What is your take on this?
I don't think you can clear up Boko Haram in 6 weeks, because that is not possible, because Boko Haram are not located in a particular part of the country whereby you can just go in and clear them out. They have their strategic plan of moving from one place to another. So 6 weeks, if someone is coming out to tell you that it's going to wipe out Boko Haram in 6 weeks, he's just playing. Even let me refer you back to what happened in the Niger Delta. According to what we heard, they couldn't just defeat them just within a day, even though we know that they are not like Boko Haram, they have a camp. So when you're talking about terrorists, you want to defeat them in the 6 weeks, I think they are not serious enough in saying that. If really that comes out from the authority fighting against Boko Haram, I think they are not serious, because you can't just go in and you said you want to clear terrorist group in the 6 week, a group that's fighting you for over 4 to 5 years now. So I don't think they can achieve that within 6 weeks. If they want to address the public, they should tell them that I think with 6 weeks we can be able to get a little improvement, but not to say they are going to clear them in 6 weeks. I don't think.
Sorry to cut you here, Sonny, but let me chip something in. Now, remember that the Nigerian army is no longer fighting Boko Haram alone. You now have army from Chad. We have Nigeria, you have Cameroon. There's an agreement with Nigeria now, so it's a regional fight, so to speak. Do you still think that things can't be achieved within 6 weeks?
Yeah, we can achieve that, but I don't want to say that that can be achieved within 6 weeks. Look, for someone like me, I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to speak like one. Or you see, this is a terrorist attack, and if those people that coming to align with Nigeria, I wish they did that earlier, 2-3 years back. We wouldn't be talking about Boko Haram now. But they are just coming to support us because now they are also feeling the heat. Because initially, when they attack from Nigeria, they run back to those areas, and now they are also attacking them. The issue of terrorists is not one-man business. I wish, if not for the fact that we are playing politics with everything in the country, we should have come together to deal with these people long enough. But I just, like, for what I've seen so far, it's just all about something on the sitting government that they are not capable to defeat them. If any attack comes out, they try to put blame on the government. I don't think if we do it that way, we are going to achieve our aim of defeating them. Because if I'm your child, and if I did something wrong and my father or my mother is trying to tell me that what I'm doing is good indirectly, then I will be doing more of it. But in the case of Boko Haram, people are not trying to come out together to unite to fight them. It's like some part of the country, some people are sympathizing with them and they are trying to give them support. So that is why it's difficult. But thank God these people are coming, Chad, Cameroon, they are coming together with Nigerian army. I believe as time goes on, we might get rid of them. So that's what I believe. But it's not just what you can deal with within 6 weeks. So I don't believe that, and I don't want to say is obtainable, because it's something you have to do with a lot of time to take control of. So thank you.
Okay, so a very quick question before I let you off the hook and speak to other people on the Hangout. Do you think that postponing the elections for that reason, security, and trying to root out Boko Haram in time so that we can have safe elections, so do you think it's justified? Because if you don't believe that a lot of things can be achieved within 6 weeks, then somehow you're implying that there was no need to postpone the elections. Is that correct?
You're still referring to me?
Yes, Sonny.
Okay, in the issue of election, I don't want to relate this issue with the shifting of the election, because for what I've gathered and what I've heard so far from both political parties and from both the opposition state and that of the ruling party, what I've gathered so far is that INEC on their own, they are not ready. How can you say you want to conduct election and the PVC you are distributing, not everybody got their PVC? You are sending some to Akwa Ibom and some states in Taraba. You will send the ones in Akwa Ibom to people in Taraba to Akwa Ibom, then you will send the ones in Akwa Ibom to Taraba. Then you are not ready for the election. So I think even the INEC boss on their side, they are not sincere in conducting the election. I don't think they are ready for that day, because I'm hearing a lot of complaints that they don't even have their PVC and all that. So shifting the election, I think, is something that INEC have to do, because you can't tell me that you want to conduct election and the majority of people don't have the PVC. And how do you want them to go to our election polling booth that they are not going to have problem at the end of the day? So in the issue of postponing the election, I think that is a right thing to do to maintain peace in the country. Thank you. Hello.
All right, Sonny, thank you. We have new callers. I have Mikhail from Italy. Mikhail, please also state the exact town where you are in Italy. And thank you so much for joining the Hangout. Yomi as well. Yomi Bami was also joined the Hangout. Yomi is calling us from Ikeja. That's in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you so much again. So we've been discussing the fight against Boko Haram and the joint fight by Nigeria and our neighbors against Boko Haram. Of course, we'll also mention the elections And very quickly, I'd like to get your thoughts. I'll start with you, Yomi, because you joined the Hangout first. Do you think that we can achieve so much within 6 weeks, on the 6 weeks now, in time for safe elections? Yomi, questions for you, but I can't hear you. Okay, I still can't hear you. I know you are saying hello, but I can't hear you. Perhaps check your audio, make sure you're not on mute. Please say that again. Okay, please do check your audio and I'll get back to you. But in the meantime, let me head over to Mikhail. Mikhail, thank you so much for joining the Hangout once again. Please, can you lower your webcam so that I can see your face properly?
Okay.
Like you have so much headroom. Yes.
Can you see it now?
Yes, it's good now. Thank you for joining. I believe you know what we are talking about.
Yeah.
And please do go ahead.
I actually want to start with what actually was the reason for shifting the date of the election. That was February 14th. Was INEC ready? No. Can INEC be ready by February 14th? Yes. Because if you check under 1 week, even the PVC collected under these few days, you see that it has really, really increased. Despite the fact that people would want to still give in that benefit of doubt, oh, I still have more time and all that. Even within the 1 week, you could see the number of PVCs collected. So because of that, I certainly know that INEC will be ready. Hello? Hello?
I can hear you. Go on.
Yeah. But the way everything came up, it's not too good because I think this thing could have been taken care of, not even involving the military at all, and not painting a picture as if the military is the one that is dictating whatever happens in the country. So that is that. So now moving to the fight against the Boko Haram, at least from what we've been seeing in the media and the television and what have you, we actually have to give kudos to these men who are working. But there is still a question that is begging for an answer, and the question is, why now? Why was this not done ever before now? Some of my friends have been trying to tell me, oh, we could see some other African countries just joined and all that, and they just did that, and it's now that we are getting their support. But I actually knew that at the time Cameroon was kind of blacklisted, blackmailed, so to say, by some people in government, and I actually had my fear personally. Because you cannot blacklist somebody or blackmail somebody, oh, that is doing this, is doing that, when you fully know that you don't have, according to UN convention, you cannot chase anybody, whether terrorist or whatever, you cannot chase anybody into another person's territory. So when they started coming on here, particularly Channels Television, and they started blackmailing these countries, some of us have friends among them here, they felt like, wow, what exactly do you mean? So it is not impossible that some of those things could have actually contributed to probably late assistance from other African countries. And but as for wiping out Boko Haram in 6 weeks, I personally believe that it is possible to wipe out Boko Haram in 2 weeks, where nobody's interested in playing politics. That is my submission.
Okay, a very quick question before I let you go and move over to Yomi. If, hopefully Boko Haram is wiped out in 6 weeks, or Boko Haram is, considerably wiped out, relatively wiped out, don't you think perhaps people suspect any foul play? Because if you've been fighting Boko Haram for a couple of years and nothing happened, and then all of a sudden something happens within 6 weeks, what do you think people will make of that?
Yeah, exactly what I've been saying, that Boko Haram could be wiped out in 2 weeks, not even 6 weeks. And it is quite obvious that all along there had been many political considerations and all that that could probably have made resistance into successes. So if it is achieved in 6 weeks, then possibly politics had been put beside and the real work possibly had been faced, and that is the reason why we are seeing the success. But I know every well-meaning Nigerians have always known that Boko Haram could be taken care of in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you.
So as for what people would think, if I may add this, whatever that has to do with life, where people are dying every day, I think what people will say does not really is not supposed to be a major consideration. Let people be free, let people in that community, let them have their lives back. I've got friends in those areas who are missionaries and all that. Many of them stopped their activities a long time ago. So I actually know that there is no sacrifice, and there is nothing people will say that is a too much of a sacrifice for giving a whole community, a whole state, for giving them back their lives so that they can live their normal life. In fact, and let me say this, let me use this avenue to say this. I've been seeing many things like, oh, they've got more PVCs in the Northeast and all that. Don't be surprised that it could actually be because of this insurgency problem. Probably many of them are thinking, oh, can we actually retain this president so that he can help us fight Boko Haram, or can we try to change this president so that another person could come and help us fight Boko Haram? So I've always identified that as the possible reason why they've got more PVCs in those regions. So I actually believe that it is possible for us to wipe out Boko Haram. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yomi, I hope your audio is better now. Okay, great. So I can hear you.
Okay.
So please do go ahead.
All right. So the question. Please, the question again.
We've been talking about the fight against Boko Haram. We'll be talking about elections. So the first question would be that: do you think that the government can achieve what it says it can achieve within 6 weeks?
Okay. Well, I personally don't think can be wiped out in 6 weeks, but well, I also listened to the president. I don't think he was also promising that he's going to wipe them out in 6 weeks.
I'm sorry.
I don't
Before
think.
you go on, Yomi, there's a lot of noise coming from your end. I can hear a lot of people speaking. So if you can please do tell them to bring it down.
All right. It's
so
quiet
please
now.
go ahead now. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think the government can actually make a lot of progress within the 6 weeks, but I don't think they're going to totally wipe them out within the 6 weeks period, because I know these guys are extremists, and fighting extremists does not end with guns. It's a lot more. They are diehard people. They are ready to go all the way. They keep fighting. So until you finish them, until they are totally out, you still have them coming. So I don't think they're going to be totally wiped out within the 6 week period, but I really think there's a lot of progress that's going to be made within the 6 weeks. Over the past few days, we've heard the news that their camps have been, have been facing a lot of airstrikes, and it's going to reduce their, it's going to shatter their plans and reduce what they plan to do, at least during this election. So reducing their influence within the within the 6 week period is going to help the election. It's going to make things work a little bit better, because there's going to be a lot of progress. But I don't think they're going to be totally wiped out within the 6 weeks. And then for the 6 weeks postponement, I personally don't think it's a bad idea, because there's the issue of the PVC distribution that is going to have wider reach, after the six period. And secondly, the security agencies, what they said is actually what's happening. They said they needed 6 more weeks to make some more efforts. I think they've been doing just that. It's not about being gullible. It's about just, looking at what's presently happening. And I think INEC, the security agencies, they are on the right track. But I don't think they're going to wipe out the sect in 6 weeks. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Yomi. Very quickly, we have a new caller, Hannah Abdul. Hi, Abdul. If you'd like to be a part of the Hangout, you would need to please sit properly to be a part of this and then make your contribution. Is that fine? Hello, Abdul. Okay, I guess Abdul cannot hear me, so we'll have to move on. So very quickly, gentlemen, we're about wrapping this up. What is the way forward from here? What do you see between now and 6 weeks and then after the elections? I'll start with you, Charles. Charles, I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, great. So you can go ahead now. So please, very quickly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. So very quickly, what is the way forward?
Yeah, you asked the way forward. Well, the only thing I see as the way forward right now is if the government can really, like Mr. Michael has actually pointed out, and I was saying before, if the government can be very sincere with us, that's the only way forward. If the government are ready to tell us, move forward from the propaganda that we are being fed all along, that's the only thing that I see as a way forward. If we are not seeing anything different from that, then the whole political process will always be as it has always been in the past. Someone coming to the election and the same whole story, no free and fair election. That's the only thing that will keep being. So if the government, thank you.
Thank you very much. So Mr. Alade, your final words, please, as we wrap up this hangout.
My final one would be the way forward is not in a single word. It has multi-phase. Number one, defeating Boko Haram. I wrote something in the chat board out. Boko Haram is not all about the killing. It's like an ideology, and this ideology could only be defeated not at the war front. We as a nation, we have to build structures that can defeat Boko Haram and also prevent future occurrence. The national ethics, we have to evaluate our reason of existing as a country. Conflict resolution agency has to be created to solve religious conflicts, ethnic conflicts, and all other cultural conflicts before they escalate into something like what we have today. Then again, right from our secondary schools, we advocate that national principles be taught. National principles be taught to our young ones so that they will understand why we are existing as a nation. And of course, Boko Haram will only end again if those who have suffered from Boko Haram killings now are adequately compensated. Humanitarian effort is put in place. And finally, all these things won't work if there is no effective leadership and goodwill. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before I move on, Anna Abdul has finally joined the hangout. Hi, Abdul.
Hello.
Okay, great. So very quickly, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Yaba in Lagos.
Okay, great. Can you do me a favor of dropping your Twitter handle in the chat box?
All right.
And because we're already wrapping up the conversation, I'll just give you 30 seconds to tell me what your take on the fight against Boko Haram, particularly the regional fight against Boko Haram is.
Okay, very quickly, I will just add that I think lately we've recorded a lot of successes, and that is quite commendable. But I believe it's something we could have done, a lot earlier. that we're doing right now. One will ask where all of this coalition and all of this cooperation has been the last 6 years, but I'm sure most people would have touched on all of that. Another set of people who think that it's a desperate attempt by our leadership to try and win back our hearts within the short space of time they have before the general elections. But be that as it may, I believe that what matters is the fact that we're getting results, and I hope that we can continue in this offensive and continue to drive our fight against the insurgency and bring it to the barest minimum as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm heading over to Mikhail now.
Yeah.
So Mikhail, I'm here to get your Twitter handle. Put that in the box.
Okay. At the moment, I don't have that.
Okay, that's fine. Just please go ahead with your final words for the hangout.
Yeah, I actually want to remain on my point that and use this to round up that it's very possible to finish this fight within this short space of time. And whether if it is finished, we should not just be asking too many questions. Why was it not finished? Let it just be finished so that people can have their lives back. But coupled with the strikes and all of that is being done on the war front, we should start asking some questions. So what about the prosecutions, the sponsorship? People who are sponsoring these things, people who are the godfathers. We've had many statements. There is Boko Haram here, there's Boko Haram there. When are they going to face? When are they going to be punished? So these are key issues, because by the time you go to the source of anything, to the root of anything, I want to tell you that you have rendered everything powerless. So I strongly maintain that where there is seriousness and political will, Boko Haram can be made an history in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mikhail. Sonny Curie.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, according to what the last speaker just said, if we want to move forward as a nation and want to live happily, we have to also find those people behind the Boko Haram and those sponsoring them, how they are getting their finance and all that. If we don't put that to an end, Boko Haram might end up some days, and some days another Haram might come out from somewhere. Because if we don't put the legal system in place and try to deal with these people who are sponsoring them, Boko Haram might be an history soon. Another Haram might come from somewhere else because someone else did this and he got away with it, and someone might also come. Some group of people might come out and call themselves some kind of names and disturbing the country. So I think if we want to really move forward, we should try to look for those people who are behind this whole killing over the years. We should try to find out who are these people, where are they getting their fund from, and what is their motive, and why are they doing this to us as Nigerians, as a country. So we have to find that. That is the only way I think we can end all this whole thing. And I also want to say that the people in the northern part of the country, they should try to enlighten their youth, because I haven't seen, I'm a Christian, but I've done a lot of study concerning Muslim. I haven't seen any place in the Quran that states that you should kill your neighbor if he or she is not a Muslim. So I think they should try to educate their youth so that nobody is will come to tell them to carry a bomb and go and die for people to become one thing or the other. Those are not things in the Quran. So I think that is what they should be doing to educate their youth, because if that is being done, I don't see any reason why they will be seeing people to recruit. So they should try to educate the youth in the northern part of the country so that we can live freely and peacefully. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. This is as much as we can take on this hangout. Kindly follow @ChannelsBeam on Twitter to continue the conversation. Please do use the hashtag Boko Haram so that we know what we're talking about and we can follow each other in that conversation. My name is Mayowa Mutili, and it's been wonderful discussing with you. Like I always say, God bless Nigeria.
Thank you.